Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Ginger Pierce, and I am one of the travel agents with Marvelous Mouse Travels. We are the agency that runs this Facebook group, along with several others that are focused on different destinations. Welcome to Sundays with MMT. This is a weekly live agent panel video series that we do in one of our Facebook groups every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we are really excited to be here in this group tonight to talk to you a little bit about river cruising. We have an agent that recently got to experience a European river cruise, and she's going to give us kind of an overview of what she got to do and just talk to us a little bit about river cruising. So, we have a lot of things that we want to share with you tonight, but we would also love to interact with you. So, we would love to take your questions. We would love to hear your comments and feedback if you have done a river cruise. So, we're using a platform called StreamYard to go live this evening, and it might ask you if you do want to come post a comment just to approve that it display your username and profile picture. Know that you can decline that permission and you can still post anonymously and interact with us that way. So I am joined tonight by one of our marvelous agents, Erin Sudemeyer. Erin, thank you so much for
Hello.
being with us tonight. And if you would just tell everybody a little bit about, how long you've been with the agency and the best way to reach out to you if they're interested in planning a vacation.
Certainly. I'm a master planner with Marvelous Mouse Travels, and I've been with this wonderful agency since 2017. As you know, we're celebrating our 8th anniversary as an agency, which I'm very excited to be part of. You can contact me at Erin Sudemeyer at marvelousmousetravels.com, and that's going to be on Facebook.
Awesome. And again, my name's Ginger Pierce. I'm also a master planner, and the best way to reach out to me is to visit my blog, which you can find at gingermmt.com. So, Erin, tell us a little bit about the river cruise that you recently took. What cruise line were you with? Where were some of the places that you got to go?
So I was on AmaWaterways, and I was on the Ama Christina, which is a beautiful, beautiful ship. And it was my first experience river cruising, and it was absolutely positively phenomenal. We did the Colors of Provence, which is a trip from Lyon down to Avignon, and we were on both the Rhone and spent a brief period of time on the Saône River as well.
Awesome. So, in your opinion, what is the biggest difference between river cruising and ocean cruising?
Both are phenomenal, but different in very different ways. One of the things that I learned about river cruising is you don't cruise around the country, you cruise directly through the country. And as we know, these major rivers, they were the trading route for everyone. So these beautiful towns grew along the river.
Yeah.
The one picture you're seeing right now is a picture. It was a hiking day, and we climbed to the top of Mount Pipet. So you're actually docking right in the heart of some of these, cities that are right along the river. I've taken both an ocean river and I've taken a river cruise through Europe. And one of the things that was different was when I took an ocean cruise and it said you're going to begin in Rome, you're actually going to begin an hour and a half outside of Rome, because that's where the ocean is compared to Rome.
Right.
When I was traveling to Florence, I had to travel an hour and a half each way back. So my 9-hour excursion, 3 hours of that was traveling to and from the location. Because again, an ocean liner cannot travel to Florence because the ocean's not there. So, definitely cruising through the country, not cruising around it was a huge difference. It was a much smaller ship, so much more intimate than a large cruise ship. And it didn't have all the, I guess you could say, bells and whistles of a large ocean liner. There wasn't a, casino, and there wasn't, a huge theater and things like that. Instead, it was unique experiences, which I'll talk a little bit about, that made it really special.
Yeah. Awesome.
So yeah, definitely a different setup entirely.
Did you notice a different demographic in terms of, does one kind of skew older or younger, or families versus adults? What did you notice in that respect?
Yes. So There was definitely an older crowd with the
Mhm.
Ama Cruise Line. It definitely did not suit younger children.
Mhm.
That's not what it's made for. There are other opportunities that our agency can talk with you about. If you have small children and you
Yeah.
want an experience like this, we have that. But this is not where you're going to see your younger children. This is where you're going to see either singles or adult couples. I would say ranging me being one of the youngest people on the ship to some couples were in their 90s, but
Wow.
a good solid majority, I would say 60s and 70s.
Mhm.
Um, the really cool part, and this is a little bit different from some river cruises, with AMA, they cater to multiple levels of activity.
Mhm.
So before you even begin your journey, you will select all of the different excursions that you want to go on. So in advance, you're going to get a listing and it's going to say, okay, this is your list of days that you're going to be on the ship. And these are all the excursions on those days. So you can look through it in advance and say, okay, well, I can do morning or afternoon activities. I can do one, I can do the other, I can do both. Unlike some cruise lines, you can do all the activities you want to do for free. They're all
Mm.
included in the price that you paid, which is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Most lines will only let you do the morning excursion. The afternoon excursion is at your own expense. But not only do they just have a morning excursion and an afternoon excursion, there's several days where your morning excursion, you choose from 3 different excursions.
Mhm.
And one would be a, 11-mile bike ride or a hike like I did to the top of Mount Pipette, which they call Mount Pipi in French. I don't know. I feel really weird saying Mount Pipi. But anyways, that's how they pronounced it. It doesn't look like that way when you say it, so I just call it the other way, which is not right at all. But there's also times where they had, okay, get off of the boat, get right onto a bus, go to a steam train, and we're going to take you to the countryside. And
Mm.
it looks like you're riding the Hogwarts Express. And it's all these like old brick bridges, and it's just
Yeah.
fantastic. And I had to do absolutely nothing. There was no energy expended on my end whatsoever. Sometimes there's city tours, and they'll even break it down because let's say uh, 75% of the group on board wants to do the city tour. They still break it down into smaller tour groups. So
Mhm.
when you go and check in for your tour groups, they'll say to you, do you want to be in the group that's more active, the average, or do you want to be in the group that's slower paced? So if you are a more active person and you want to do the city tour and move a little bit quicker and see a little bit more, you can. But if you're somebody who wants to, take their time, walk a little slower, find more of the details, then you can go on that one.
Gotcha.
We just had a great picture of the Notre Dame. Uh, it's the for Vos. I'm not saying it right, I'm sure. Oh, my Spanish is terrible, but they were very kind to me anyways. Every church there pretty much starts with Notre Dame de, so of whatever. So this is one that we saw the very top of the hill in Lyon. We saw another one when we went and did the hike to the top of Mount Pipette, which, by the way, when they say that it was like going to be strenuous, they meant strenuous. And there were some people who are 60 or 70 that rocked this hike out, but there were no switchbacks. It was straight up. I mean, you were actually going. They had one bike ride. It's like a 25-minute bike ride. But like I said, you can kind of pick and choose what you
Mhm.
want to do each day.
Awesome. So, Erin, in your opinion, why is river cruising a great way to experience or tour Europe?
Well, I have to tell you, the first day we got on the ship, it was a true realization to me how different it truly was
Mhm.
because we began in Lyon when we got on the ship, and everything, first of all, from the moment you get off the plane to the moment that you leave to go to the airport, every detail is taken care of.
Mhm.
You get to just stop thinking and just start enjoying. And when we got there, the directions were perfect, took us right to the person who transferred us, free transportation, right to the cruise ship. And from that moment, no difficulties whatsoever. But beyond that process, they kind of took us in as their family. They said, okay, now let's talk. You picked out your list of things. We needed a general idea, but we're going to let you repick if you want to. And they went through and said, here's a little bit about all these different things. And you guys can re-choose if you want to. So we chose to do this castle because we thought, oh, that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
And instead, we ended up going on this experience, and it was, I don't know if you've seen advertisements for the Van Gogh exhibits where it's all over the walls and the ceilings. It was that in a mined quarry, but not just Van Gogh. It was artists from around the world. It was different art periods. And it wasn't just traditional art. It was photography and architecture. And it was this fantastic experience. We would have had no idea. But they said, if you didn't pick this, you might not have known exactly what it was. And then they showed you examples of what it was. And so we were like, oh, we definitely want to change to that.
Right.
So then after you have dinner on your first night, you think to yourself, okay, we're going to cruise overnight and tomorrow we'll be in a different city. And yet we were in Lyon again. So, we were like, okay, what's going on? So the next morning they took us down through our first lock, because you go through locks on the river. And they took us to Trevaux and got us on a bus. And we went to this vineyard, to the Beaujolais region, and we went to a town called Oy. And it was, a guy playing music, small cobblestone streets. But when we came back, the boat had repositioned back on the Rhone in Lyon. So they had taken us up the river to the Saône and down the Saône so we could experience that region. But the boat went back to Lyon. And it wasn't leaving again till the next morning, because you're going very small distances and seeing lots of things in that small distance. So we got to go into town. This is a picture in front of a little place that we found. The owner's name was Jean Baptiste. And he came out. It was a Thursday night, the first night we were there. We weren't very busy. We asked him if he spoke French or English. He said yes. So we basically told him that we wanted a glass of red and a glass of white, something dry. He said, I have just the thing for you. And we said, perfect. And we sat down, and his dinner crowd cleared out, and he came over and talked with us, told us about the history of Lyon. And we were in a section that was near university, not downtown. So he told us about the different universities that were near the area. There were these huge pillars. He talked about how they were trying to get the Olympics in Lyon and how there's swimming pools underneath them and all the stuff that we never would have known about if we didn't have that really strong interactive experience with somebody from another country, where we actually had hours to talk with him. And he could not have been more friendly and wasn't touristy. So that night one is when we got to talk to him. Night two, we found out we were going to be still in Lyon again for the night, because we had that huge experience. But again, we went back to that same spot in Lyon. So we went out for a second night and we did the same thing. We went and visited and, just experienced more of the French culture. We went to a couple more stores that were in that area. We really kind of got to spend 2 days in Lyon and, not 4 hours like you would if you were maybe on an ocean cruise.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because you are going shorter distances. So you're not having to spend as much time on the commute. You're just, getting to actually experience more of that destination.
Well, it happened again when we were pulling into, where were we headed? It was Vienne, I think it was, when we were heading in Vienne. And they said, we will be there like pre-dinner. You have a cocktail hour, which I'll explain later. But when we're at cocktail hour, they said, you're going to go to dinner. By the time you're done dining, because we were already cruising, we will be in the next port of call. And if you would like to leave the ship tonight, we have ship maps for you and we can help you out. It is free museum night. So the town is going to be full of other people. So it's going to be active. It's going to be a safe community for you to go out in and experience a free museum, or, go to a cafe or something along those lines. So about 8 of us that had met said, let's go to museum night. And so we asked for their opinion on what was closest, and maybe had a variety of things for us to look at. And so that evening we got to go into a museum for free. And then we stopped and had an actual glass of champagne, because obviously it's not champagne if it's not from the Champagne region, before we got back onto the boat that night. So it was a wonderful bonus evening. I was exhausted because I had already done 2 excursions that day. I was like, how do you not go to free museum night?
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. For sure.
So you've mentioned the food a little bit here and there, but let's kind of talk more in depth about that. What was the dining situation like on board? And then also, different places that you got to visit.
Perfect. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you didn't pick a time like you would on an ocean cruise, early or late. The times varied daily depending on what the excursions were and what we were doing. So you never had to worry about getting back on the ship in time for a meal.
Right.
Your excursions would line up with mealtime. Now, if you chose to stay in town, you could actually go to a local place, skip lunch on board, and just be back by on board time. So you could do that. The dining room, because there was only a couple hundred people on the ship, was extremely intimate. I've heard it's set up differently than other river cruises where it's all open and everybody can see each other. It's almost like Irish pub style, but fancy. So don't think of it as the wood and the pub, sections, but think of it as just velour kind of closed off. I don't know. There's certain areas that almost look like private dining rooms. And then there's some little sections that are a little more open in case you have a larger group. And then there's some booths in case, you want a more intimate section. And so the first night they help you figure out where you're sitting and where you'd like to sit and where you'd feel comfortable sitting. And then you have the same server that stays with you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They have you sit at that same area. Unless there's not many people in the room for breakfast, and they kind of mix you up a little bit if you want to meet more people. Yeah. So that is fantastic. There's the one main dining room. You actually start off, obviously breakfast, lunch, dinner, and happy hour. All of your beverages are included. So when I'm talking about all of your beverages, I mean, wine, spritzers, beer, whatever you want to drink for lunch, happy hour, and dinner is included. They have a bar if you want to go in the evening for evening entertainment and you want to purchase a few drinks, you can do that. But you're never at a loss for any of that. They have 24 hours an area with coffee, tea, water. They have these bottles of water that are made from cardboard that you can take with you on excursions. They have glass bottles of Evian in your room. So you don't have to worry about bringing any beverages on board with you. They have you fully covered.
Awesome.
Dinner starts with a pre-dinner upstairs. So you're in the lounge. And the first part is people just starting to mingle in after getting refreshed from all of their excursions and having some drinks. And then the cruise director will come out and talk to you a little bit about what the rest of the evening looks like and what the next day looks like, kind of to remind you. They'll have something in your room as well that, says this is your daily cruise planner. So if you don't feel like going up to the happy hour, you're still in the loop, no problem. And the gentleman who plays piano throughout happy hour was an opera singer.
Oh, wow.
And on our YouTube channel, we actually have a video of him singing one night, and he was phenomenal. So he would always sing us one aria before we would go and have our dinner. So he was fantastic. Then you would go down to your dining room, except for one night. One night you didn't go to your dining room, you went to chef's table. Now, normally when you think of chef's table, you think of that's an upcharge.
Yeah.
And usually a pretty big upcharge. The way they have it set up is they have enough room for chef's table because it's a smaller ship for each individual to have one night at chef's table. So at the beginning, they have you pick out what night you want chef's table. And it's at the back of the ship, beautiful sunset as you're eating. There was a picture that you guys had. It was, it almost looks like red chicken, that one picture that you showed. Yes, this was something that they had made for me right at the table. And it was not only gluten-free, but it was dairy-free. And it was phenomenal. I have more allergies than you could possibly imagine. But it was one of the most delightful things I've ever seen or eaten. It was fantastic.
That's
So
really important to know too, that they can handle, allergies or food sensitivities and things like that, because, obviously so many of us have to think about that. And it's nice to know that they're equipped to take care of that.
one night they said, "What would you like tomorrow?" I was like, "I'd really like a soup." And they're like, okay. The next night I came and I had carrot soup. I'd never had carrot soup my entire
Oh,
life.
wow.
It was beautiful. It was
Mhm.
delicious. So yeah, soups, salads with salad dressings where I could have the salad dressings and not just have it be balsamic vinaigrette. I also
Mhm.
can't do like onion and garlic, so that's really
Right.
difficult. On top of it, desserts that
Awesome.
other people at my table were, yes, this was dairy free and gluten free. It was an ice cream with a custard underneath with raspberry and chocolate sauce.
That sounds amazing.
But doesn't it look like normal human food?
It does.
And it looks like great food. I think one of the hardest parts when you have severe food allergies is food becomes a source of fuel,
Mhm.
not a delightful experience. And when you go to a place that can make it a delightful experience for food, you know that you're dealing with high end luxury. And
Mhm.
that is exactly what you get with AmaWaterways from start to finish.
Uh,
Just every little detail taken care of for you.
Yeah, and we have gotten to hear, from other agents who have had experiences with AmaWaterways, and everyone has that same feedback that it is just like a next level experience. And so, if you are interested in river cruising, obviously, you have a lot of different lines that you can choose from, but I think that this one is definitely worth a look, because they do take care of everything, and they kind of take everything to that next level. So speaking of taking everything to that next level, and taking care of every detail, Erin, why do you think it's so important for people to book their river cruise with a travel professional versus just booking it directly on their own?
Well, the first thing that I can tell you is that when I traveled, there was a companion with me who said, I did not realize how much it took to plan this type of trip.
Mhm.
You add that with our services are free if you book through us and travel through us. Put
Mhm.
those together. It is solidly the best thing you could do. I mean, if you had complicated taxes, would you not go to a tax professional?
Mhm.
So you're going on a trip to another country that might require different testing, might have different rules that change by the day.
Yeah.
Why would you want to do all of that research yourself and take all that time away from your active day when you could have somebody who we are linked in with individuals who we're one of the first to know when
Mhm.
things change. We're on
Mhm.
top of everything that's going on in the travel industry. So that's who you want to trust your trip to. For river cruising, you might say, oh, I'll just book the river cruise portion through somebody, but I want to spend more time there. I'll book it myself. It'll be fine. No, if you book through us, we're going to be able to say there's extensions on the beginning and the end of this trip.
Mhm.
So if you have the time and you don't want to just spend 1 week in Europe and you want to start maybe in, France and you want to end in Spain, that's an option. And let me tell you, it's an option that's so much easier than you trying to figure out how to get from Avignon to Paris on a speed train. And then
Mhm.
when you get there, finding a cab and then finding a cab who speaks the same language as you, because that's not going to happen, to find your hotel that you may or may not have booked in a good area of Paris. I mean, just that alone, just hearing those words should lead you to be like, I want a professional. I
Yeah.
want somebody who's got me covered and can advise me, not to tell me this is what you need, you must do, but instead to say, what do you want out of this experience? Let me give you my opinion on what will make this the best experience for you.
Mhm.
That's the mark of a good travel planner.
Yeah, and I think that, that's maybe something that kinda holds people back sometimes, is they think, "Oh, well, if I book through a travel professional, that I'm handing over ownership of or control of my trip." You're absolutely not. Like Erin said, a good travel professional is someone who is going to, work with you to craft something that meets the needs that you have, or meets your vision that you have for your trip, rather than just kind of handing you this cookie cutter, "Well, here's what you have to do." Like, that's not what it is at all. We're really there to kind of help guide and craft and put together something that is unique to you, and kind of what you have in mind for your trip. So, Erin, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really
Oh, it's
enjoyed,
been my pleasure.
getting to talk to you and get to hear a little bit more about AmaWaterways. I haven't seen any comments come through at the moment, but just keep in mind if you are watching us, I know many people watch these videos either on YouTube or in Facebook once they're no longer live. So, if you have a question and you want to ask it, we do monitor these videos after the fact. So, feel free to still go ahead and put those in the comment section, and we're happy to come back and address those questions for you. If you joined us a little bit late and you're interested in getting information about booking a vacation, all of our contact information is back towards the beginning of the video. And keep in mind that it is free to work with one of our agents. We can help you with everything from an ocean cruise to a river cruise to an all-inclusive resort to theme parks and beyond. So again, thank you all so much for watching with us tonight, and we hope that you'll join us again soon for another episode of Sundays with MMT. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much.